Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. Today, we are featuring Lucy Marco, our Executive Director. Lucy Marco has 57 years of experience in manufacturing, marketing, human resources, administration, and management positions, combined with 50 years of volunteer service for over 40 community boards, advisory committees, and service clubs. She is a recipient of many awards. Lucy is most proud of her Federal Citation for Citizenship, her YMCA Peacemaker Medal, Rotary Sunrise Paul Harris Fellow Award, Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Business Achievement Award, and the naming of Lucy Marco Place, first as a Wilfrid Laurier University student residence, and now a City of Brantford apartment building. Welcome, Lucy.
Well, thank you. Excuse me. I just lost my voice. First of all, thank you for taking the time this morning. For those of you that have not heard me do this type of presentation, I really appreciate having some new faces that I'm talking to. I'm preaching to the converted for the ones that are already Grand River Council on Aging volunteers. And the important part of doing this presentation is to record it so that it's on our website, so that it can be seen by anybody who wants to know more about the Grand River Council on Aging. So I'm going to start off by telling you that it's creating a community for a lifetime. But what's important is that we are creating a community for everyone, residents from 5 to 105. The Grand River Council on Aging actually shares the voice of lived experience of older adults with those that are planning for the future. So having said that, let me get going here. First of all, just to tell you the organization itself, we are actually a registered charitable nonprofit organization, and we are dedicated to encouraging the development of an age-friendly community culture. And so really, what is an age-friendly community? Let's start with that. The World Health Organization defines it as being a community that optimizes opportunities for health, participation, and security as people age. It is meant to ensure their quality of life. And so what happens? How does that happen? Well, the World Health Organization recognizes that the municipalities have the biggest impact on the life of all of us. Every one of us every day are impacted by where we live. And the municipalities are the ones that follow the legislation that has been dictated to them by the federal government and the provincial government to carry it out. I don't know what happened that I just lost my picture, but anyway, I'll go back and see if it goes back. Ah, there we go. Now let's see if I get it. I did. Because the municipalities do have the biggest impact, they are encouraged by the World Health Organization to develop policies, services, settings, and structures to support and enable people to age actively. We're so very proud that the City of Brantford and the County of Brant are both recognized by the World Health Organization as age-friendly communities and actually have plans to do exactly what they're dictated to do. We're also proud that 6 nations of the Grand River also worked with us, or we worked with them, and they developed an age-friendly assessment of all their needs as it relates to the aging process. They call it their elder's journey. Should they ever go to the next stage of going to the World Health Organization for recognition, I believe they will be the first Indigenous community to do that in Canada. So let's talk about future directions of our own community. We all know now that with the 2021 Canadian census, that more Canadians are over the age of 65 than under the age of 14. Now, how does that read out in Brantford? Well, what's important for us to know is that the projections starting back in 2006 were that by 2030, 5 years from now, 55 plus would represent 35% of our total population, and 65 plus would be 25%. It'll be interesting to see what the 2026 census says, because we've had such a growth in our own community. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same or more of those 55 plus representing 35% of the total community. Now, what's important about that is that nobody was planning back in 2007 when all of this started for the aging population. So I will go on from here. The other thing that is very important to note is that it is not age alone that impacts our life. Of course it is. Every day of our life is we're impacted by our own age, but it is mobility. And we have the distinct reputation in this community. We, being the Council on Aging, started referring to our residents as being go, slow go, and no go. And if you hear that phrase, it's being used across the community now. It came out of the Grand River Council on Aging, planning for the future with different mobility issues. It's pretty self-explanatory. Go are all the residents that can do anything they want. They can walk, they can ride, nothing's interfering with their ability to go to work, clean their house, do their gardening, or go shopping. But slow go, something's slowing them down. Now, that could be a mom with little children in tow. It could be somebody that's been 20 years old and they've been skiing and they broke a leg. It could be somebody that's been in a car accident, but it can be chronic illness. And chronic illness doesn't wait. You don't have to be 65. It could happen earlier. And chronic illness sometimes comes and goes. So people have to think about where they're going, how they're going to get there, what they're going to do when they get there, and what are all the mobility challenges they may face. When it comes to no-go, if I'm using transportation as the example, they're not going anywhere. They're either at home for whatever reason, they're housebound. They could be in a retirement home housebound, or they could be in nursing home, 24-hour care. What's important is they have the same needs as everybody in the go and slow-go classifications, but everything has to come to them. And transportation, in their case, is really an issue when it relates to their family members as to where they are and how they're going to get to see them. So all this leads to people with lived experience, PWLE. This is a term that came out of the Global Initiative, World Health Organization Global Initiative for Age-Friendly Communities. And it relates to those people that have lived experience, and they are willing to share that with organizations, resources, anybody that can respond to resource issues that they might have identified. So what's important is that they are people that need to be listened to and understood. It is the practice of the age-friendly movement globally always to be using people with lived experience, but now it's expanded to municipalities and provincial governments and federal governments. And in our particular municipality, if you have heard BBNOHT, that stands for Brantford, Brant, Norfolk, Ontario Health Team. They actually have a working group, PWLE, all these acronyms. And the working group is a group of people with a network that are willing to share their lived experience in the healthcare planning area. The Council on Aging is represented with our lived experience on the Elder Abuse Committee, the Elder Abuse Awareness Committee, I should say, Brantford Immigration Partnership, many city and county county, no, can't speak this morning, committees as well. So let's look at the words elder versus senior. Now, when we started working with our older residents in our community, we started off with talking about seniors. Well, they didn't want to be a senior because senior is a qualifier when it comes to age. We have senior kindergarten, we have senior high school, we have senior university, we have senior discounts, we have senior pensions, and that's the key. Senior is a word that's used by the government, and it recognizes 65 as being the pensionable age, whereas we had our residents tell us that they want to be elders, because elders is a title of respect worldwide, and it's based on the fact that they have wisdom that they have gained through experience. An elder can be 45 all the way to 95. My goodness, an elder could be 35. It's when you're passing on lived experience to generations below you. And what's interesting is Elder now has become older adults. So you will hear now the terminology older adults is what we are listening to. So people ask us, well, what can be done? What is an age-friendly community? And we're always saying, well, you have to be able to use an age-friendly filter. And what is an age-friendly filter? Well, when it comes to planning for the future, it's looking at asking yourself questions via a checklist, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about checklists, recognizing that what you're planning or what the business is planning or the municipality is planning, that there needs to be a way to identify what they're planning for. That's why we say 5 to 105. The questions that are on a checklist relate to all the things that need to be considered when planning change for the particular group they're planning the change for. And so that the checklist ends up asking questions and things that you need to be able to plan for if you are planning an event for your family or anything, that you look at these questions. Well, what's the noise going to be like? How are you going to communicate it? And what's important to recognize is that respect is practiced throughout the entire process. So what does that really mean? Well, we've talked about mobility. So if I go around this little circle and talk about lived experience that we have in our community, what is made up, what our residents are exhibiting. We talk about generational. Well, when it comes to generational, people that are in the older group compared to those in the younger groups don't necessarily speak the same language because they don't have the same experience. People in my age group, my goodness, the experience that I have gone through with the introduction of technology all the way through my life and is phenomenal. Whereas people in my great-grandchildren's group, technology is just there. So you all know what I'm talking about because the same thing relates to all of you and your families and your neighborhood and your friends and the events that you go to. There is a big difference around how we all experience our lives based on how we have lived them. Now, when we talk about the experience itself and then we use the language that we all have, well, that can be quite different because you can have somebody from the north end of Brantford talking to somebody from the south end of Brantford, and their language will be colored with whatever the slang is or whatever they grew up with. Well, take that and add to it somebody from Toronto that's in our population, and add to it anybody with English as a second language, and there is just a wealth of things that can go wrong when it comes to communication. Talked about mobility. Let's talk about social. Now, social for me was dancing and going in groups and all kinds of fun things with people. Whereas social today, for the younger generation, relates to social media. Sometimes they can be sitting in the same room, talking to somebody in the same room, but on their device. It's a whole different world. And I come from a time where, as you all do, Christmas or summer Sunday dinners were a thing that everybody went to. Well, I can tell you in my family, that doesn't exist anymore because they're busy doing things with children on Sundays because the parents are working. And I think that will, you will be able all to recognize that in your families and your family neighborhoods. And when it comes to education, my goodness, I learned my math by memorizing the times table. They don't do that anymore. They take a little calculator. And everything when it comes to math is quite different. I just tried to help my great-granddaughter, who is 8, with a math question that she's learning math. I had no idea what she was doing. I finally gave up. She thought that she didn't know what I was talking about, and I didn't know what she was talking about. We were going in different directions. And then when you think about, we've got a couple of generations now that cannot sign their own name because the school system stopped teaching cursive writing. Thank heavens they reintroduced it a year ago. So you take all of that into consideration, and then you talk about customer service. I'm going to talk about customer service now as it relates to all of us, We've all been customers, we've all been clients, we've been patients, we've been employees all at the same time, and we have experienced customer service, bad and good. We're pretty good at sharing when we've had bad. We don't always share when we have good. But what's important is that to understand that the businesses, the municipalities, the organizations, they're dealing with the demographics that are coming to them in all ages, shapes, and sizes, education, where they live, language, and it really becomes a problem or an opportunity as to how to communicate with them when they're planning for change. And so when it comes to planning for change and communication, the choices today compared to when I was starting out in the work world, where we wrote letters on manual typewriters, and or we wrote handwritten letters and we sent them to wherever family members. Today, choices are radio, television. They've come into being in my lifetime. They're just there. They're just not even anything that the young people today, everything's on their phone. When it comes to that's a vehicle. And then when you look at how you look at print, and then they have to recognize that, gee, as we age, our eyes don't necessarily see things the same way. And so when words are put on a page, not only do they have to be in a language, lay terms that everybody can understand, but they need to be easily read. So font, the size of the print comes into play. And we now know that people cannot read anything that is white on color that is below a 12 font. It just bleeds, so they don't read it. And the long paragraphs, people don't read them. So when people are planning to communicate customer service-wise, wow, have they got some decisions to make. So we tell people, you really can be part of the change. Because why? Because the older generation is part of, we are the youth of the 1960s and 70s, and we revolutionized now how life is lived today. We're the ones that changed the things around us, women working, taking part in the community. And we've had to make change because society dictated change, and it ended up being that both parents are working, raising children, all kinds of things. And so we had to learn as we went along. And that is the kind of people with lived experience that we are. And we can share that with the younger generations that are now planning for the future and raising children in their time. So how do we do that? So what we did was back in 2007, when we recognized, as a result of those 2006 census figures, that there was nobody planning for the aging population that was going to be in our own community, we better find out what does that mean? So we decided, well, we're just going to go out there and ask the community. And we did. And we did go to seniors, 65 plus, and their families. And we asked them, what needs to be thought about when planning for the future? And we were told that we needed to plan for people that were fit, people that needed some help, and people that required 24-hour assistance. And they came up with looking at housing and transportation and communication in our community, and actually provided 99 recommendations. And we went, wow, 99 recommendations. What are we going to do with that? And as a result, a steering committee had been struck, but we decided that, well, we'll see who would implement them. The city of Brantford, the county of Brant, and the Grand River Community Health Center and the hospital all agreed that they would accept that master aging plan with its 99 recommendations and attempt to implement some of them. We decided, well, we don't want to have them this plan sit on the shelf like a lot of plans do. What are we going to do? And that's how the Grand River Council on Aging came into being. It was incorporated in 2010, and we're the ones that were sitting on those recommendations and looking at, is anything happening? As a result, the process is the assessment, the implementation, the evaluation, and then monitoring. And we took 2 years in 2015 and 17 to actually go back to the community and ask the residents again, have we done anything right? Is there something we should have done? Is there something more to do? Well, I can tell you that we were all shocked, and I'm sitting here. I know that Peggy Wickham is here. She was part of this whole process back then. 628 suggestions from our community for planning for the future. We went, wow, 628 suggestions. Well, what did we learn? The most important lesson we learned was that people don't know what they need to know until they have a need to know, and then they don't know where to go. That was number one. Number two, it was important to listen to what was being said and understand what those voices of lived experience were telling us. And what they told us through many voices and all the focus groups that we did, they came up with those 628 suggestions over what is known as the domains of an age-friendly community. And for you to understand that and the impact in your life every day, the domains are outdoor spaces and buildings. We'll all go outdoors and into buildings every day of our lives. Transportation, we have to get and go somewhere. Social participation, interaction with others, civic participation, volunteering and employment. Housing, my gosh, housing, we all have to live someplace. Community support and health services, respect and social inclusion, and communication and information. 628 suggestions. And the one, if you were to guess as to, I can't get you to raise your hands now, which one had the most? I'll tell you, it was housing. 135 suggestions for what should be looked at to plan for the future of the community for the residents. Well, that was before COVID. And COVID came along, we found out that all of those things that those people identified, they had no way of knowing where to locate them. So the Grand River Council on Aging developed what we call our info hub. And on our website, those 8 domains that I just mentioned to you, those 620 suggestions are there in reports by underneath the planning, but they're also underneath the info hub, the resources that relate to those domains. So if I use just housing on this one, if you go to housing underneath the info hub, you will find all kinds of information as it relates to housing in the city of Brantford, the county of Brant, and 6 Nations. And that goes for every one of those 8 domains. It is a resource that is used not only by residents, but also used by the family members so that they can find information for other family members. It's heavily used by a lot of the service organizations where they may have a client in front of them and they need to find out where to send it to as a referral. And I want to point out, I think I've got an old slide, Linda, because in what we have on our website is a little flag. And if you click on our little flag on our website, up come 104 languages. And that whole website gets translated to the language of your choice. So that for the large community of second language people that we have in our community, by the way, we have 150 countries represented in our community and our residents, and with 83 languages that are first languages. So you can imagine for some of the things that people are wanting to know, how important it is to be able to switch it to the language that is most important to them. We also, first of all, that info hub was put together and is maintained every year by volunteers. So is the seniors discount directory. We had people asking us when COVID hit, where can I get my groceries? Will they be delivered? Is there seniors discount that I used to get at Shoppers? How do I get that? Remember, all the older adults were isolated. They couldn't go anywhere. And as a result, the seniors discount directory was born. It is available on our website. You can look at foods and restaurants for Brantford, the city of Brantford, the county of Brant, and 6 Nations. This is constantly in what do I call it? Review, revamp. It's in revamping again, looking at it again. It will continue on as we grow with the information that we are providing to people. So that's on our website. What you're attending this morning, when COVID happened, all those in-person workshops that we used to do, they went out the window. And we had to end up thinking about, well, how are we going to keep people connected and involved? And thanks to the residents that make up our community at home planning committee, they made it happen. They learned Zoom, they've taken part in the planning, and they are delivering the workshop. And that's bi-weekly every Wednesday morning. And for those that you are new this morning, welcome. That is followed by every other Friday, out comes the Community at Home newsletter. And that then provides all the things in writing that people wanted to know about. Now, it's printable. It can be printed and circulated within a group. It can be, Linda sends it out to a whole bunch of people that have applied for registration for the newsletter, but it also goes out to the churches and the retirement homes, places where people gather. And there are people that print it and share it with a small group of friends, because not only does it have all the information about the Grand River Council on Aging every other week, but it also has what's going on in the community and places to go and people to the things that people can register to take part in person as well as virtually. And one of our newest, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to talk about planning, event planning. Our event planning guide that is on our website now under events. This is wonderful because it gives you an introduction to all of the things that need to be considered when planning for a large group. Who's coming? What's the audience made up of? And then asking the questions about how you're going to plan for it. And there's even a checklist to print off. So any family can use it if they're planning a large family gathering. Could be a wedding, could be a buck and doe. But for municipalities, it can be events and meetings. For organizations, it can be large-scale events. So it's another tool, and it was developed in conjunction, in partnership with the city of Brantford and all the things that they have learned over their age-friendly planning with their age-friendly plan. Now, this is another thing that came out of from the residents of our community. We were told, and we all know, that they are those of us that have the habits that we want to write on something and hang it on our fridge or carry it around, whatever we're going to do. We're not running everything on our life on a phone. We want to have the ability to have a calendar. And so the age-friendly calendar was developed, and this is 2026 will be our 5th year, Linda, our 5th year. It comes out in, it is distributed October the 1st, National Seniors Day, 10,000 copies to wherever older adults are gathering. So we ask everybody to help us promote the voice of elders. That's what this slide says, because that is the way that this was being originally communicated. We need to change that, Linda, to voice of older adults. And Linda shakes her, oh no, here she goes again. I don't know what I'd do without Linda, everybody that's listening to me. But we are a charity. And now I'm not asking you all to give this morning, but I'm pointing out that as a charity, we have no government dollars. We are totally dependent upon the community to support us with donations. And charitable tax receipts, of course, are available. And every page of our website has a donate button so that people can click on it. And what their dollars are supporting are all the things that I'm sharing with you. There is a cost to operating the Grand River Council on Aging, and the dollars that we solicit for funds go to cover that cost. And we are a charity with no employees. We have contracted services for administrative support, but looking to the future, we need to have contracted positions. And so we're constantly raising funds. which brings me to our signature fundraising event, which goes on in September of every year. This year it is September the 20th. It's held behind Pauline Johnson Collegiate and Vocational School on the Kiwanis track. The field there that is provided by Kiwanis, and it's with the support of Kiwanis and their volunteers that this whole thing eventually comes together. And it is our signature fundraiser, and we're just in the middle of getting ready to go. We will be officially launching it August the 6th within the community, and September 20th is the day. So if you haven't heard from us already, you will be hearing from us. So here we are, volunteers. I don't know where we would be without all of the voices and all of the volunteers that we have had join us. And there's so many over these years. There's a lot of them that are gone now, but they gave of their experience. They gave of their hours. And I don't know where we'd be without them. We still need them. We're constantly looking for volunteers. And there's so many things to get involved in, from information fairs to committee planning to communication activities, and of course fundraising. It goes on and on. So if you know someone that thinks they'd like to know a little bit more about us, we encourage you to have them visit our website. And there's also a volunteer form on our website that can be completed just as it is. And if you cannot use the do not use the internet or use the website, Linda always will accept a phone call, and I'll show you the phone call at the end of the presentation, the phone number. So what all of this is, when I make this presentation, I'm normally telling everyone that now you're an age-friendly champion. Now I know there's already age-friendly champions on this call this morning because you're the committee members, but there's a couple of new people that maybe this is the first time. If this is your first time, you are now an age-friendly champion. And I tell you that you have the ability to use the go-go, slow-go, and no-go as an example of what you heard this morning, and you can talk about it. And like a lot of the politicians have said, if you see something, say something. That's the most important thing I can say to you today. Not only is it important to say to someone that there may be a risk in something you see, and maybe they need to know something about the mobility issues of who might be coming to their particular business. More importantly, if you see a business that has done something, congratulate them. Do you know, so many times dollars and efforts are spent and people never get a thank you. Well, for those organizations that have been forced to, in some cases, make changes, and it's to the better for mobility issues, thank them. They may have done it out of the goodness of their heart, or it may be someplace that's been legislated. So becoming an age-friendly champion means use your voice. And what happens when you use your voice? Here's a couple of old examples. Starting back in 2008, when there were no stoplights that had signals on them that told you how long you had to walk to cross, or time you had to cross the street. And by the way, they're not stoplights. I've been corrected by the city staff many times. They're now traffic signals, because with the advent of planning for the walkers, they became traffic signals for walkers as well as drivers. And now, as you know, there are stoplights that tell you stop, traffic signals that give you the time you have to cross the road. And the city bought into that master aging plan, and they put it in their budget. Now, does that mean that, when does that mean it's going to happen? Well, it doesn't happen every year. It happens on, remember, municipalities are planning for 50 years. So it goes into their budgets as they go across the city. So you will still find places in the city where there are not these traffic signals. But let me tell you, it was the voices of the residents that brought it to the fore, and the commitment of the city to the master aging plan. Here's another one. Those unwalkable bricks to downtown that they've been changing over to concrete, because it was identified by the residents of this community that they were an accident waiting to happen. For anybody trying to use a walker or a cane and wheelchairs on those bricks, it was definitely dangerous. And so the city bought into that and made the commitment that they would do that. And so you are seeing in the downtown area of Brantford and many other communities, because the Grand River Council on Aging is not the only council on aging involved with the residents planning for the future, making these changes. So here we are. What was the whole key here was to let you know that voices do make a difference. The city of Brantford and the county of Brant are definitely listening to those voices. They have definitely got their own age-friendly plans, as they should. They've made the commitment to the World Health Organization and are heavily involved in the planning of our community for the residents, 5 to 105, for the years to come, for our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. 6 nations have identified their elders' journey. They do their own planning, and they identify things as they go. So here we are. Everything that I have said to you today is on our website. At your convenience, I encourage you to please go on and at your own leisure, take a look at some of the things that are on there. There may be something that you can find that you need to tell somebody else about, that you know, and share it with them. And here is that phone number. That's Linda, 519-754-0777. That is the Grand River Community Health Center. Our office is in that building. So it's very important that when you call, that you put the extension number 439 into it, and you'll go directly to the Grand River Council on Aging. Otherwise, you have to listen to all kinds of things. And that brings me to the end of my, I don't know what you call it, my diatribe, my lecture, my whatever, because I never say the same thing twice, and I just kind of get on a roll. So I would welcome any comments that anybody would like to make.
Just before